Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That's the famous quote from Mike Tyson. And I hear it as everyone's got a retirement plan until they get punched in the mouth or the face. And we're going to be talking about this for the third time in 3 shows. This time, punch 3 is a needy family member. Let me bring in my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, welcome to the show. It's round 3 in the boxing ring with Mike Tyson. Everybody's got a plan. Yes, that's the bell to get in the ring or to end the nonsense. Getting beat up, getting saved by the bell.
Everybody has a plan, Dan, until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, and so we did 2 shows already, and this is the third one. We're going to talk about the third punch. Needy family member. What do you say?
I like it. I like it. So we talked about the first 2 punches. The first was market volatility, correct?
Boom. Market volatility, a market correction.
Market correction. Yeah.
Destroys retirement plans. A lot of people know about that one, but watch that show if you haven't seen it yet.
Like 2008.
Yeah.
When there's a huge drop.
Yeah. COVID 2020. Yeah. Happens all the time.
2022, the markets went down about 20%. Yep. Not as tragic as the 2008, 2009 drop, but still significant. So these things happen, right? So that's the first punch in the face. And what was the second? Was it healthcare?
Health crisis.
Like the health crisis.
Negative health event. That's punch number 2.
Yep.
I'll put the show up here in case you missed it. That's, everyone's got a good thing going with retirement, and then someone in the family, like yourself or your spouse, has a negative health event of some sort. And destroys retirement plans, but we can avoid it.
Right.
And third. And so the first one, market correction, people they hear about, and there's a lot of defensive tactics for it. Healthcare crisis, people understand that too. You can do some things about preventing that, or at least preparing for it. But this third one, Tony, this is the one that I feel isn't talked about much, is very difficult to deal with, and there's not a lot of defensive tactics that people are using right now.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that 3 is a needy family member. That I thought maybe you'd do taxes as the third punch, because that can be a punch in the face, but not for everybody in retirement.
Right, but there's no excuse for that, because that's coming. That's just a mistake. I think.
Sure. Okay.
We're talking about punches, and there might be taxes is definitely a problem.
Something out of your control that you can't plan for.
Well, you can, and that's what we want to talk about today. Okay. So a needy family member, I got 2 different styles here. We got the adult child, which is, kind of weird. That's new.
I have 3 adult children. That's the phrase is perfect and it fits. Adult children. And my pocketbook is empty because I have 3 adult children right now.
And aging parent is another one. And you have that too.
Oh, Dan, do I have it?
You know where that puts you?
What's
the term?
Yeah, sandwich generation.
Yeah,
right?
Sandwich generation.
I'm the mayo on the sandwich, and I look like it. I mean, this is the look I have. So if the shoe fits, I guess I'll wear it.
Yeah. So you're in the sandwich spot where you have not only adult children that you're dealing with, you're also dealing with aging parents, and you're getting crushed. Your retirement dreams are getting crushed as we speak.
Thanks, Dan.
The Affordable Care Act, I think that was 2010. Over the years, they've raised the age limit for children to stay on their parents' health insurance. So now the age is 26.
Yeah.
So it's not like, 18 years old, go fight in the military and get out of my house.
Right.
Because that's what it was when I grew up. It's like, go to college and that's it. You can come back during the summers, but you're working.
Right.
And then you're out. Right. Now that's changed a bit, and a lot more parents have their children 18 to 34 years old helping them. Some might say enabling them.
Yeah.
So I want to talk quickly about some stats on this. This is from
I need to have my wife listen to the show. Speaking of, you said enable. I don't know why her name popped in there.
Yeah. Well, this I take from the Financial Journey of Modern Parenting: Joy, Complexity, and Sacrifice. The link below for those that want to read it in detail. It's from Merrill Lynch. It's a few years old now, but it's only getting worse, I think. Especially with the COVID, a lot of more people moved in with mom and dad. Each year, this is from the study, each year parents spend 2 times as much on adult children, we're talking age 18 to 34. They spend 2 times as much on adult children than they elect to contribute to their own retirement accounts.
Wow. Yeah.
Is that you? Is that you?
Yeah, I would say I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I guess I fit into that category.
How old is your youngest?
19.
Okay, so you have
She's in her first year of college, and the next is 21. The next is 24.
All right, so you have 19 to 24-year-olds. These are adult children by any metric.
Yep.
And you're still helping them, right?
Right. More so the 2 younger ones. My son, who's 24, is married. His wife has a full-time job. He has a full-time job, but we've still helped out on occasion. We're still doing some help, but not much. But the other 2, it's like full on everything.
Well, here's another stat. 72% say they put their children's interest ahead of their own need to save for retirement. And 63% report having sacrificed their financial security for the sake of their children. So, you might be paying for a cell phone or college or gas.
No.
Car,
yeah, you're inaccurate. There's no and. Yeah, it's and not or. Yes, we pay for all their cell phones. We pay for all their auto insurance, all the cars they're driving. All 3 of them are from us. Now, grandparents helped out the cars, but but we pay the insurance. We pay the cell phone bill each month.
Car insurance?
Yeah.
Oh, see, imagine you take that bill, all of those, and you just put it in your retirement.
Yeah.
How would that?
Dan would be like, "Where's Tony today?" Oh, he retired.
He retired already. You've been retired already. We did a show years ago called "Don't Have Children If You Want to Retire." I'll put it up here. I don't know if there's any video on that, but we did a real show. That was what it's called. Yeah. So, but I also run into people that have children coming back through a divorce. Drug issues. Paying for rehab. Paying for medical bills, bailing them out of jail, obviously negative things, but also it was paying for weddings, paying for a new house, down payment. Like, these things are what I would call enabling. Now, think about it. It's what's the term when you're in the airplane? They tell you, if we run out of oxygen, the oxygen mask comes down. What are you supposed to do?
Put yours on first, and then help the children, the elderly, others around you.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're not doing that. A lot of people are not doing that.
Right.
So what's the defense here? A lot of people in that same study say, I wish my child knew more about debt. That's the big one. Understanding debt, student loans, just understanding that, credit cards, but also investing, compounding interest, career advice, budgeting, general financial literacy. These are things that they should be teaching their children, but I would argue they should be teaching themselves. If you learn that yourself, then you'll pass that on to your child.
Yeah.
But this goes a long way. Giving your child the tools they need to be self-sufficient goes a long way. But if you get into this rhythm of what I call enabling, they may never grow up and get out of that. They may never grow up. So what I suggest in this particular case is setting some guidelines, not enabling. So if your 30-year-old child's going to live with you,
ouch,
and they're capable, I mean, we're not talking about dependent, child that has special needs or something like that. We're talking about an able-bodied adult that can go and do their own thing. Yeah, mom, I could save a ton of money for myself if I live with you. Have that conversation, but set some guidelines. Okay, if you're going to live with me, you're paying rent. Because the conversation is, let's imagine with your daughter, your youngest, say, okay, you're going to live with us until you, until you get a job and move out. But you're going to pay us $500 a month in rent. Now, that may be like, well, where am I going to come up with that money? Or it could be like, wow, what a great deal. I'm never going to move. But it's a lot easier for you to say, hey, by the way, your rent is going from 500 to 1,000 than it is to say, hey, you've been here for 5 years. We're going to start charging you rent. If you set the guidelines early, like this is a temporary thing, this is a contract, this is like, this isn't life. We're going to treat you better than you would a landlord, but we're going to have some guidelines and we're going to have some timelines. Makes it so much easier. If you just go with the flow and be like, yeah, stay here until you figure things out, what's the motivation for them to figure things out? Right now, if my dad was paying my mortgage, I think life would be easier financially for me. But my dad hasn't ever paid my mortgage, so I pay it. If you don't set up the ground rules early, that's where it makes it really difficult to make change.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I think my wife and I have done a pretty good job with boundaries, although we are still paying for car insurance and cell phone and college. So, and helping out with living expenses for the youngest two, because they're still in college. But they know, like, this summer they got to work. They're like asking us, well, I'm going to need money for this. And we're like, where are you? I told my daughter, she goes, I signed a lease for a house to move into for June for next year for school. It's $430 a month for to rent an apartment out of this house with a ton of other girls, or share an apartment with these. And I'm like, well, that's $5,000 next year that you're going to need. Where are you going to get that? What do you mean? I just need $430 to put down on the apartment. And I go, no, you need to come up with $430 every month.
Right.
Where's that coming from? Oh, I'll get a job. Will you?
Right. Okay. So, I mean, but that's good. That's a good step. I'll get a job. But what if they don't? What are you going to do? Kick them to the curb? And that's the problem. People say, well, my son needs rehab, $30,000. I got to take it from my IRA. What do you say to that? No, don't help your son. It's really, really difficult. It's really difficult. So that's why
tough. That's tough.
This is, like, sometimes you're going to take these punches, but you have to plan for them. The other one, flipping, and now you remember you're in a sandwich now. We're going to go to the bottom layer of the sandwich, or the top layer, whichever way you're looking at it. Aging parents. That could be a financial drain. Now, I'm not even going to talk about the emotional drain of enabling children or parents dealing with that. The energy. We've done shows on, long-term care costs and how it impacts people beyond the money. It impacts them emotionally and physically. But dealing with aging parents is a situation that people can get into, and it could happen over time, or it can happen on a dime. And I find that people that want to plan for this, that are like, oh, I need to come up with a plan for my mom. Once they go through their aging parent, like you, Tony, you're probably going to be much more inclined to make sure your kids aren't dealing with you as you get older, because you had to deal with your parents.
Right.
So you'll be more inclined to be prepared. It's those people that their parents never needed any help. They don't realize how detrimental it can be to their children. And aging parents, that's a problem. So you have to have contingencies for it. So when people come to me and start planning retirement, I ask them about their parents. Are they still alive? How long did they live? What did they die from? What are they doing now? How's their financial situation? And it's not to, it's not like I'm going to go help their parents unless they ask. And well, why is that? What does it matter what my mom's financial situation is? Because we can have all these great plans. And if your mom calls you and says, hey, I need bail money to get out of jail, what are you going to do? You're going to help her out, right?
Right. Wow, your mom's into some bad stuff, but yeah.
Gray divorces are happening more and more,
That's
so
true.
There is a situation where dad dies, mom's a widow. She doesn't know anything about finances. She's going to make potentially bad decisions. And who's going to pick up the pieces? You're going to let your parents kind of falter? No. So you have to talk about it. And the best practice is to plan ahead, as ridiculous as that sounds. Now, your grandfather did well. He did well up to 101, right?
Right.
It wasn't until the last few months that he needed help. He set up some financial plans ahead of time, but even that wasn't smooth, right? With siblings.
It was not smooth.
Would you, the plans that were made, there were some legal plans, estate plans. Those plans, had they not been there, would it have been worse for you?
Yeah. Oh,
10
much.
times. 10
Yeah.
times worse.
Much worse.
So no one wants to set up plans. No one wants to talk about their mortality.
He tried to do what was right. He thought, I just need an estate planning attorney, and he didn't work with someone like yourself, though, who was a fiduciary, who was looking at the big picture. He did not have that piece of the puzzle, and he did not properly communicate to all the siblings what his intentions were and what was happening.
Right. And so
those were the two biggest mistakes he made.
Lack of communication, which it's taboo.
Big one.
It's a taboo thing.
Yeah.
And lack of planning ahead of time. Even if you have the plans, something happens. Healthcare plans should be planned ahead of time. When your parents are going on Medicare and dealing with that, get involved. Yeah. Understand that Medicare does not cover long-term care. Understand the difference between Medicare and Medicaid and what's covered. Understand how assets can get passed to children, what's counted toward the estate, what's not, what the state looks for when it comes to Medicaid planning. Understand that not everything's going to be covered, and you need to figure this out. Help your parents with that process. Ask them the questions. Have them go through this estate planning process while they're with it, while they're healthy, because that will help you in the long run. And then do it yourself for your kids. That's the main message. You got to go on the offensive when it comes to this. The best defense for long-term care or helping a needy family member is to tackle the issues early. And in both cases, whether it's an adult child that you're enabling, hey, set some guidelines early. Have that painful conversation early, because you don't want to have that painful conversation after 10 years of enabling. Same with the parents. Have that conversation early. You don't want to try and have a conversation when they've been diagnosed with early dementia, right? It's too late at that point, right? So planning ahead, obviously, is number one.
Yep, that's the key. Plan ahead, work with a professional, communicate, those types of things, set boundaries. Those are all great points.
And giving your children or your parents education and information to help them help themselves is ideal as well.
Right.
You don't want to be sweeping in as a knight in shining armor, saving the day, because then there's some resentment there.
Sure.
If you instill some changes early, it's easier to make adjustments than starting from scratch when it's too late. Yeah. So it's a knockout punch though. Boom.
Boom.
What happens if, and I say the bad things like going to jail or, drug abuse, those really do happen, but it could be something like a car accident that disables one of your kids, and now your grandkids need, help, and your daughter-in-law needs help or something. What do you do? Like, that's when family comes together. So can you prepare for that? No, but the certain ones you can prepare for.
Yeah.
And I think that having conversations is really powerful. Just recently, I sat down with a family of 4 children and the mother, and not on death's door, not anything going on there, mid-70s. And it was just, hey, let's talk. And they came together at the kitchen table or the dining room table. Some siblings and spouses there. So there was 8 people total, including myself. And we sat around and just talked about what they want to see happen, what would happen if things went south right now.
Smart.
And they realized they didn't have nearly enough of the things buttoned up. And it was awkward a bit, because it's like, all right, what happens if you die? I'm sitting right here. Why are you killing me off? But we joke about it and say, what happens if you become incapacitated? And I break down that barrier early in the conversation, just, make light of it, just because no one wants to talk about it. But once you just say, all right, let's imagine, and you get past that awkward stage, then it's like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't think of that. And then it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. So are you going to start charging your children rent?
Well, at this point, 2 of them aren't living with us.
So you're doing a great job. That's the key. The oldest child needs to do things right. You got to make sure you focus on that oldest, so the other ones follow the footsteps.
Right. The older one is married, living on his own. He pays his own rent, with he and his wife. The 2 others are in college. My daughter rents a house with some other girls in St. Paul that she goes to school with, Minnesota, up in Minnesota. But last month I had to Venmo her $400 for her share of the rent.
Ooh.
So, yep.
Daddy Warbucks coming to the rescue.
So, luckily it was only 400, but I say only 400, we're not made of money. And so that's money that could have went, like you said, into our retirement account.
I'm going to also throw out the whole student loan thing. I would rather your son or daughter get a student loan, even grandparent, your grandson, granddaughter, get the student loan, feel that pain, because it's painful to owe other people money.
Yep.
Go through that process of understanding debt, signing a contract with the bank, getting that debt coming out of college with a job and saying, ooh, I got to pay the student loan, learning that. And then that's when the parent or grandparent can come in and say, let me help you with that. Because if you just pay for college and they don't have student loans, and you pay for college because you're tapping away from your retirement, then the child needs help on something else. They're going to be like, oh, I never had to deal with debt before, and I don't understand this. And, oh, mom, dad, help me. You help me with my college loans. Help me with the next problem. If they learn to help themselves and you sweep in, it's a lot easier to help them when you're stable.
Yeah,
but
2 of the 3 are going to have 2 of the 3 have some college debt, especially my son, because he went to post-grad school for medical.
And that's okay.
So
it's not the end of the world, because you can help him deal with that.
Right.
As opposed to you having a student loan for your child.
Exactly.
He's not going to be able to help you with your retirement. No. He's not going to be like, hey, dad, I got my first new job. Here's $500 a month to help pay for you to retire. That's not how it, that's the last thing on his mind. Right. So just think of that when you're enabling your kids.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing for them to feel some pain and experience what it's like to owe and be responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
Just a word of advice.
Yep.
And on the flip side, with the aging parent, get them to make decisions while they're healthy, so that they don't feel like you're dictating to them and they're old and frail. And if they do become frail and don't do everything for them, that's the worst thing you could do for somebody that's let them put their clothes on themselves. Let them struggle with it, because if they don't, then they got no purpose. You got to get them to want and continue to try and improve. Otherwise, again, that's no way to live. So it's really not just enabling and swooping in and saving the day. It's talking about it early, making sure you're observing and there in times of real need, not trying to avoid all pain together.
Sure. Yep. And that's important. Obviously, great show, great topic, Dan. Now, if our listeners out there want to work with a financial professional like yourself, an advisor who's going to look at the big picture, help them with all this, help them plan in advance, how do they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. The thing to do, if you're dealing with a financial person, ask them, hey, can you help me with healthcare planning, long-term care planning, help me with my kids' college or student debts or something like that. These are all part of financial planning and retirement planning. You need to include them. If it's just focused on investments, you're missing so many curveballs or sucker punches, right? So you have to talk about this. If you want to talk about it with me, the best way to contact us is dolphinfinancialgroup.com or call 888-508-5935. I'll put my kids on here. This video that I did with them was taken years ago now. They're going to be 14, or they are 14 now. So happy birthday to them. But
good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with them. I'm talking a big game right now, Tony. We'll see 10 years from now will you still be on the
I can't wait to see your situation.
All right, thanks for a good show, everyone. And avoid the 3 punches. We'll catch you next week with something new.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Riddle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.